We have now reached the OTR pop quiz. It's a point in time when Chris actually turned to me and said, boy, I look forward to the OTR pop quiz.
Or not.
Or not. I'm not sure which one it was.
I did not say that.
Okay. I thought it might have been something like that. All right, here's question one.
Okay.
We'll start the pop quiz at the State House. Massachusetts has had 6 governors who have served non-consecutive terms. 2 of them in the 20th century. 1 is a Republican. We're going to put the names on the screen. Can you figure out which one? Was it Herter? Was it Volpe? Was it Sargent?
I'm going to go with John Volpe.
It was Volpe, first elected in 60. He lost to Endicott Peabody in 62 when we had 2-year terms in the state, and then defeated Peabody back in 64. So when a Massachusetts governor completes the term, they exit the State House in a tradition that's known as what? And on the screen we have the options for you. Is it the lone walk? Is it the long walk? Is it the closing walk?
I know it's from the State House. They walk down. I think it's called the Long Walk.
It is called the Lone Walk.
The Lone Walk. They walk by themselves. Okay.
It actually began in 1884 when Benjamin Butler kicked open the front doors of the State House, bammed them over, and then walked right through. So it's been around for a while.
Although a couple of governors have actually walked out with their spouses, and no one's complaining.
Yeah. All right, as we mentioned, you live in Rentham, so we have a Rentham Outlets question for you.
Oh, no.
It seems like the outlets have been there forever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but when did they actually open? Was it 87, was it 97, or was it 07?
Okay, it would have been 07.
97.
No, 97. Okay.
19. I'm not going to say anything right now, but you're 1 for 3. I'm not going to say anything right now. But this is a comeback one. This is speaking of 1 for 3 in sports. You're a graduate of Brigham Young University. BYU is known for its outstanding football program, among other things. It has an outstanding football program. On the screen, there are 3 NFL quarterbacks who have won the Super Bowl. 2 of them are from BYU. 1 is not. Which one is it? Is it Jim McMahon? Is it Steve Young? Or is it Brett Favre?
Brett did not go to BYU.
That's correct.
Jim and Steve both did.
That's correct. You nailed it. Of course, I know it's Favre.
He knows his alma mater.
I know that. It was excellent. By the way, Favre went to Southern Miss, so that isn't anywhere near BYU. Finish strong.
Okay, good.
Very good.
Well, back to the campaign trail. Your running mate, Kate Campanelli, believes that conversion therapy for those who identify with the LGBTQ community should remain legal. Do you?
Well, on conversion therapy, the way she explained it to me, that bill, was there was limits to the questions a therapist could ask a child or ask someone, and she didn't feel comfortable limiting that discussion, and that was the whole point of her vote.
But what do you think about conversion therapy? Should it be allowed in the Massachusetts or not?
You know, it's not my expertise to know much about. I'm not sure exactly how I'd play that out, but I think as far as Kate's position on that, I think she's right that we shouldn't, as a state, intrude in that discussion and dialogue between a patient and a provider.
Slightly related topic, do you endorse Florida's new Don't Say Gay law, which affects young children, the primary elementary school kids?
You know, I'm running for governor of Massachusetts. I haven't really been that involved with what's happening in Florida, so I don't know the details of it well.
It's in actually quite a few states. I mean, I think there are 4 other states that have it as well, and there are a number of other states that are starting to introduce it and to, put it into law in their states. If it came to Massachusetts, how would you feel about it?
Well, as a father and a grandfather, I certainly would want the parents to take the lead on when children are taught things that are age appropriate and that are age sensitive. So I would always lean towards letting parents be the ones that kind of guide those.
So prevent it from happening in the schools, like the schools would not have the right to bring it up.
Well, it's hard to speak in generalities that are too wide, but certainly I'd always lean towards the parents being the ones that make the decisions regarding age-appropriate teachings.
Under the umbrella that it's not fair to slot anyone into a spot here.
Yeah.
On paper, your background is very similar to Mitt Romney's. You graduated from BYU, you went to Harvard, you share the same religion. So are you, logic wants us to ask, are you a Mitt Romney Republican too?
Well, I think everyone's different. Mitt came from the private equity sector. I come from a manufacturing company where I work with the working class, with electricians and plumbers, and those are the people I've grown up with. They're my colleagues. I speak Spanish, so I'm with that community. Those are my friends. So I think I'll approach it differently.
What about political philosophy in general? Are you very much aligned with Mitt Romney, or are you different?
I don't know if I would say I'm very much aligned with anyone. I sort of have my own views and my own perspective. I can't say that I am a conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't like to waste money. I don't like fraud. I don't like overreaching government. So I come from that place of freedom and free enterprise and prosperity for citizens. I think in our state, we have a lot of opportunity to grow our economic base and bring in jobs like I have, which are good jobs with benefits. And I think we've lost so much of that in our state that I'd like to bring it back.
Chris, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for being on the record this morning.